Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Thursday, August 1st, and this is episode 46 of Azeroth United. We have a great show lined up for you today. We've got Trading Post, we have Pre-Patch, we have Cataclysm Phase 2, we've got Season of Discovery. Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, please email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. Also, if you enjoy the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That really helps out our distribution, so if you're inclined to do so, we'd be very grateful. Before I get to the news, we'll do a quick rundown of what I got up to last week in WoW. I had a Protection Warrior. So I've got a Fury Warrior who's level 70, and I'm doing a lot of things on her. So I have a Protection Warrior who was level 62 or something. And so I was like, all right, well, let's get this guy going. So I did. I got him to 70, and I think he's 493 now in 1 week, which, it's crazy how fast you level up now with the pre-patch. So they did the XP nerf. So they smoothed out the 60 to 70 XP curve. So in anticipation of going all the way to 80. And man, it's fast. One dungeon and you're leveling, maybe twice. I did some of the quests, the Rathian, I want to take back my ancestral home quests. And that was it. So I mean, it's not bad. I just, I don't know. It just feels weird. So that was number 20 for my level 70 characters. So, what are you going to do? That was pretty cool. And let's see. I just went through the war bands. I mean, there was nothing to do last week in WoW. Leveling up an alt was about the only exercise that I could go through that was, somewhat entertaining and rewarding. So, I didn't do any raids. Actually, no, I did raids on my Protection Warrior. That was about it. And honestly, Protection Warrior is in such a bad place right now. It's so bad. It feels terrible. But so does every tank, relatively speaking. They're not the super overpowered early season 4, late season 3 that they were. So, I mean, it's whatever. It's fine. But yeah, aside from that, really the bulk of the time was spent on getting ready for the pre-patch event, which we'll talk about that. And I did log on to Remix because, so like I've said in the past, I have 2 accounts. So I did the Landfall quest line on one of them. So I logged onto my Shaman, and who was on the other account. And I was like, all right, I'll do the Landfall quest line on this character. So she's going through, she's doing the quest line, and very early on, you have to do the scenario, where you've got a queue for the scenario, and you have to talk to King Varian in the scenario. So being the social deviant that I am, I joined the queue, and I waited, and when I got frustrated with waiting, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to get on my other account, and I'm going to join the group, or join the queue with myself to make it go faster. So I did. And then a few minutes later, the queue popped and got in the scenario. Talked to the king and left on both of my characters. And this other sad person who waited for, I don't know, maybe they didn't have to wait because I was already queued by 2. So either way, it wasn't cool. And so that's what happened. I don't know. I did feel kind of bad. So, but anyway, I did that, and I didn't finish you have to take the flight, fly the kite out to whatever place, and then do something there, and then go back, and then fly the kite back out to a different place, and then, because it was supposed to originally take place over several weeks, I guess. So yeah, which, it really kind of makes me wonder, if they do a Miss Pandaria Classic, like a lot of people are kind of speculating now that that's pretty much where we're going to be. If that's what they do, then are we going to slow roll out some of these quest chains and be like, well, you got to grind through it just like you did back in 2012 or whenever the hell it was. I don't know. Regardless, Miss Pandaria Remix is almost over. We only have a couple more weeks. And I do want to do a kind of, not a summary, but like a post-mortem of Remix and kind of talk about what they got right and what they got wrong, what worked, what didn't, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm really eager to do that. I'll probably do that in the next week or two, and get that out there. I think that'll be really fun. So yeah. Anyway, I'm just kind of meandering here. It's just, there's not a lot of WoW content right now. We've got the pre-patch, which is cool, and honestly, okay, I take that back. There is a lot of WoW content. It's just that because we had so much WoW content in the spring and in late winter, what we have now, it feels slow. And looking at the schedule for the next couple months, I guess, or next 6 months, it's going to be even slower. Because once the War Within launches, the content updates are going to slow way down. We're going to get the .5 and the .7 patch. We'll get a Phase 3 and Phase 4 for Cataclysm, and probably a Phase 5 for Season of Discovery. And that's it. That's like 5 updates. That's not much. Not given what we have. I mean, I have a calendar. I have a whole spreadsheet with the calendar, and I should post it on Twitter. I'm like, hey, dummies, here's my calendar, and I'm an idiot. But anyway, I have a calendar, and it's, hey, here's my calendar, and yeah. So anyway, I'm rambling at this point. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, Cataclysm Classic Phase 2 is now live. Yay! If you play Cataclysm Classic and you are we're looking forward to the Zul'Gurub and Zul-Aman reworks as heroic dungeons, this is the time for you. If you're anyone else, then you realize that this is just kind of a delaying tactic in anticipation of Firelands coming out probably sometime in October. Zul-Aman and Zul'Gurub are kind of like heroic catch-up dungeons, but not really. So they're heroic-only dungeons, the two of them. They're reformed from the raid version. So Zul'Gurub obviously was a 20-player raid in Classic or Vanilla, and Zul-Aman was a 10-player raid in the Burning Crusade. And back in those days, they dropped gear that was considered catch-up gear. And by catch-up gear, I mean easy to get, able to get you into raid. Because at the time, the main focus of World of Warcraft was the raid. So, okay, great. So Zul-Aman and Zul'Gurub are back. They're heroic-only dungeons. You can queue for them in the Dungeon Finder. They drop 353 gear. In Zul-Aman, you do get the timer for the bear. And if you complete the dungeon in time, you will get the Amani Battle Bear, which is not the same as the Amani War Bear that was back in the Burning Crusade. But regardless, it's still kind of a cool thing. So, yeah, definitely check that out. So the next content update for Cataclysm is going to be Firelands. And so that's probably going to be about 2 months from now, which means we're going to get 8 more weeks of, at least 8 weeks of Phase 2. Which is kind of weird because I feel like this should have been shorter. Maybe the first phase could have been 6 weeks, and then phase 2 could have been 6 weeks, and then we move on to Firelands. But regardless, this is where we are, and yeah, it's what it is. So yeah, Cataclysm Classic, and honestly, I was looking at the numbers for Classic. So if you go to Ironforge Pro, it'll give you the numbers of players that were involved in raids over a given time period. So it's not really a way to show how many people are playing Classic, but it's more of a, hey, here's how many players raided. So obviously you've got alts in there, you've got different things. And so it's really hard to get a good gauge of how many people are playing Classic. But yeah, the numbers were kind of surprising. There were 260,000 players or characters that raided in Cataclysm Classic last week, which is really cool. I was honestly expecting those numbers to be lower. The Season of Discovery numbers are way down, way down. And that's crazy considering that Molten Core launched this week. So we'll see if those numbers go up in the next couple of weeks as Molten Core gets some traction and more people level up to 60. Because obviously a lot of people who play Season of Discovery are taking their time and relaxing and enjoying finding the runes before they get into the raids and grinding their pre-best in slot gear and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I think the high for Classic was somewhere in the 750,000 characters rating, which again, that doesn't mean there were 750,000 people playing Classic. That means that's how many characters raided. A lot of players don't raid, and a lot of raiders raid on multiple characters. So it's really hard for that to be a gauge. It's just it's a way for us to look at numbers and go, okay, here's how it went up or down. But yeah, there has definitely been a slight uptick in Season of Discovery, but not much. Yeah, not much. All right. Speaking of Season of Discovery, and I'm going to get through the Classic because I want to get to all the retail Modern WoW stuff. So there was a few dev interviews that made the rounds on a couple of different YouTubers and podcasts about Season of Discovery. And one of the things that came out of those interviews, a couple of things, but to me the biggest thing is they hinted at, and they didn't outright say it, but they said it without saying it. They are treating Season of Discovery as a test bed for Classic Plus. And so they didn't want to call Season of Discovery Classic Plus because they didn't want to commit to that and say, here's Classic Plus. And all the players went, yeah, this stinks. So instead what they did is they said, okay, well, we'll do Season of Discovery, and Season of Discovery can be our test bed, and we'll see what players like and what players don't like. Oh, it turns out they don't like this. Oh, it turns out they really like this. Oh, it turns out they don't want it to be, Modern Wild Light, and so forth. So yeah, those interviews all made the rounds, and a couple of people got some pretty good lines out of the Classic team. I think it was Tim and Josh, I believe, from the Classic WoW team. But regardless, the point is that Classic WoW is actively being worked on and marketed to the WoW player base. So if you were ever wondering, like, hey, is this like a thing? Is Classic going to continue to be a big thing for a long time? Yes, they are settling it. Now, what that's going to look like, are we going to get Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor in the next year or two? I don't know. Probably, but I can't say for sure. Are we going to get Classic Plus? Yeah, probably. Are we going to get some fresh era servers? Probably that too, because they did hint at a fresh server. So that's an option. And, it's whatever the players want, I think, is basically what they're trying to do with Classic. So if the players want fresh servers, they're going to give them fresh servers. If the players want Classic Plus, they're going to give them Classic Plus. They just don't know how to do it, because it's not like they could just log on to Reddit and be like, herp derp, what does Reddit say? Oh, it says this? Okay, let's go do it. Because that's a small percentage of the player base. If you do that, you're going to alienate all the people who didn't bother posting on Reddit, who are now like, dude, what the heck? This sucks. So, Classic is, it's firing. It's firing on all cylinders. I don't know if you could make the case that Classic has a higher player base than Modern WoW, than retail. But I do think it's close. I do think there is definitely a close component of, hey, there's a large number of people. Now, that's hard to say, because a lot of players who play retail or Modern WoW also play Classic. Generally, it doesn't go the other way. You have Classic players who are like, I'm never playing retail. I refuse. Even though if we keep going at this rate, you will be playing retail. I guarantee it, because once Legion comes out, Legion Classic, come on. That is basically not Classic anymore. You're just playing retail, but a few years ago. It's like you're playing, come on. Be real. But seriously, I've said this before and I will say it again. Blizzard has to all right, after Legion, we're going to change the ending of Legion. The sword splits Azeroth in half and it explodes and everything resets and we get a fresh era server or something. Because seriously, do you really want to go into BFA? Come on, Blizz. Don't do that. That's bad. That is so bad. All right. So anyway, so Classic Plus is on the horizon. So if you are a Classic or a Season of Discovery player and you're kind of like, yeah, this isn't really what I wanted, Classic Plus is on the way. We don't know when, and we don't know how, and we don't know what it's going to look like. But we do know that they said that the Demonfall Canyon dungeon, they made it in 2 weeks. So if they're just going to pick random spots throughout the world and they were like, hey, look, here's the Jinthal lore area in Hinterlands where all the trolls are. Let's turn it into a raid. Why not? Why that should have been a raid. Rescue Sharpbeak? No, man, you should be getting epics for that. Anyway, yeah, all right. I got kind of lost up in the classic thing. Yeah, I love classic WoW so much, and I think it's so cool. I just hate playing classic WoW because, one, the player base I shouldn't say the player base sucks, because you know what? They don't suck. There are a loud minority of players in classic WoW who are difficult to get along with. And, it's the people who think, oh, I'm not contributing to gold buying because I didn't buy gold to do my GDKPs. Okay, but you're still contributing to gold buying because you're contributing to GDKPs. So it's like, let's just be real here. So, all right. Anyway, that's enough of that. In modern WoW, first, let's just hit the quick one, which is the Welcome Back Weekend. We are currently in the Welcome Back Weekend, which is August 1st to August 4th. And it will end August 5th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So basically through the weekend, where any currently or previously paid for WoW subscription will be free for the weekend. They're just trying to get people to come back into the game, which I think is great. So if you've got a buddy who used to play back in the day, they played back in Legion, they played back in Mists of Pandaria, and you're like, dude, you should come check out come check out the new stuff. It's pretty cool. I'll run you through some dungeons. Or if you've got your ex-girlfriend that you played with back in Wrath of the Lich King, and you're like, hey, you want to get together and do some dungeons? Because that wouldn't be awkward at all. I don't know why I brought that up. Just forget about that whole thing. But regardless, this is the time to bring back some players, maybe people who haven't played for a long time. Or people who are considering coming back. This is your chance to test it out, see how the talents work, see how the classes feel. I see a lot of people on Reddit asking questions like, well, what are mages like now? What are demon hunters like now? So obviously people are interested in the game and people are curious to see how World of Warcraft is. So yeah, now's the time to try it. So I would definitely suggest getting in if you have a friend, or maybe you have a second account that you used to play 2 accounts and then you're like, I'm not playing the second account very much, so I'm just going to cancel it. But now's the time. Now's the time to do it. Or if for some reason you're listening to this and you don't play World of Warcraft, but you're like, hey, I'm kind of curious to see if it's good. Yeah, try it. Try it this weekend. If you like it, great. Subscribe. If you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to. Go back to Final Fantasy or whatever you were doing. Maybe, exercising or working on your lawn, if you're like a healthy, well-adjusted human being. But if not, and you want to get back to deviant video games, then yeah, definitely give World of Warcraft a try. All right. So I will come back to the Radiant Echoes news that just dropped recently within the past couple of hours. But we'll go over the trading post, and then we're going to cover all of the Radiant Echoes in the main topic discussion. So we'll hit that up in the next segment. Okay, for the trading post this month, August 2024, the Traveler's Log reward is the Coward's Violet Target, which is a shield, like a archer target back piece that looks like it was made out of sticks, and then it's like a Robin Hood. Imagine the archery contest in Robin Hood or in Brave or something like that. This is what it looks like, but it's a back piece, so it goes on your back. So if you're running away, they can shoot at you. Can we go back to the wristwatch, Blizz? I mean, seriously, what is this? This is terrible. This looks so bad. Oh my gosh. I'm just, that trading post was supposed to be a really cool, fun thing, and it's just turned into gross. The items that are for sale this month, though, it's not too bad. So you have the Celestial Steed and the Cindermane Charger, both of which were, I think the Cindermane Charger was a Recruit a Friend mount, and the Celestial Steed was a store mount. Celestial Steed was the original store mount. And those both cost 900 tendies. So if you want them, come and get them. The really cool ones for me, though, are the Sentinel Warwolf and the Korkron Warsaber. So this is a wolf dressed up like a Night Elf Sentinel mount, and a saber dressed up like an Orc war mount. It's kind of cool. And a lot of people have complained because they're like, oh, this just shows, furthers the faction divide between blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, if that's how you feel, then that's fine. But honestly, I think it's kind of cool. I like it. And then there's the Ethereal Transmogrifier toy, which is a mobile trans. So if you get that really cool piece of loot in the raid and you want to put it on right away, but you are like, I can't because it's going to brick my transmog, get this toy. It's 500 tendies, but you know what? Your peace of mind and satisfaction is worth it. You deserve it. And then Wargly the Apprehensive, which is a pet for 300 tendies. But yeah, those two, the Sentinel Warwolf and the Korkron Warsaber for 600 tendies, I feel like that's a steal. I'm going to pick both of those up probably. That'll be my tendies for the month, but that's okay because I don't buy a lot of mounts on the trading post. So I feel like that's okay. All right. As far as gear goes, the gear's really lackluster. So the armor, you've got some more of those shoulder capes that they've been putting out every month in different colors. Same thing with the sarongs, and the hood and cloak, or the hood, cloak, and neck piece and cloak combinations. So you got mostly those. But they do have something interesting here. There's two watches which are on here. The ruby-faced mobile timepiece and the sapphire-faced mobile timepiece. Now, there's a whole ruby and sapphire or red and blue theming going on here. But those watches are 100 tendies each. Now, this is interesting. The reward for whenever the watch was, 6 months ago or whatever, is now on the trading post in a different color for 100 tendies. So they gave us 100 tendy reward. Cheap out much, Blizzard? Come on. All right. Anyway, and then then we've got two more of the neck stones that you get for the Blade Master. It's just beads around it like Thrall wears, and then two more butterfly colors. Which I don't like the butterfly back pieces because it doesn't hide your weapon. And I feel like any back piece that's ornate in some sort of capacity that doesn't hide your back piece is worthless unless you're dual wielding, like one-handed weapons. Because if you have a staff, if you have a sword, if you have an axe, if you have whatever, it looks ridiculous on those butterfly wings. It's like, I want my Death Knight to have a butterfly, but I don't want his axe sticking out of the butterfly's head. That looks terrible. So, again, do better, Blizzard. You can do better. All right. And then finally for the weapons, we've got all sorts of weapons. We've got some wands. We've got the low fantasy Stormwind and Orgrimmar or Alliance and Horde shields, wooden shields, which are pretty cool. The Horde's is the Grunt's Buckler, and the Alliance is the City Guard Heater Shield. You've got Scarlet and Sapphire Staves. You've got Scarlet and Sapphire Offhands. You've got Scarlet and Sapphire Guns, Scarlet and Sapphire Daggers, Scarlet and Sapphire Warglaives, Scarlet and Sapphire Axes, or two-handed axes. So you get the theme here, right? For whatever reason, they're going for this red and blue theme on the weapons for the trading post, or just in general, because the armor, too, has all of these different themed color schemes. And I don't know, it's just weird. The whole thing is just weird. Yeah. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Go check out the trading post. It's live now. You can go look at it and start working on your Traveler's Log. I'm sure you can get a lot of Traveler's Log points by doing the pre-patch event. There's going to be a bunch of points in there if you really want your back piece target thing deal, which will probably be on the store in a few months for like 50 attendees or something. Sorry, I really like the trading post in concept, but it's just gotten. So that's my official statement. It's So, all right. Okay. So before we move on to the main story, there was one other thing that I wanted to bring up, which was so there was a blog post that was released last week. I mentioned it on the podcast, but I didn't really go into detail about it. So basically what it boils down to is we've got a really in-depth schedule for dungeons and raids for the War Within, which I think is great. Raids start on September 10th with normal and heroic, and then mythic on September 17th. We've got looking for raid on the September 10th, wing 1. We've got wing 2 on September 17th and wing 3 on September 24th. And then finally for the story mode of the raid, that comes out on September 17th. So yeah, it's cool that over a 3-week period, we will get all of the raids released, which I think is good because everybody is going to exist in a different area for the raids. Whether you're a heroic AOTC raider, or if you just dabble in some normal, or if you just do looking for raid because you want to do the raid, but you're anxious about getting into a group or whatever. Everything will be available, including story mode, in that 3-week period, which is really just a 2-week period because everything will be available at the beginning of the 3rd week. So anyway, you get my point. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that everything is going to be available. Now, for dungeons, it gets really tricky. For dungeons, you have heroic dungeons will be available on the 26th. For one, you can run heroic dungeons, which will be the 8 War Within dungeons. And then you'll be able to do that for the entirety of the preseason period. Once season 1 comes out on September 10th, the heroic dungeons will switch to the seasonal dungeons. So it'll be the 4 War Within dungeons and the 4 new dungeons, which is Siege of Bralis, Grim Patrol, Necrotic Wake, and Mists of Tyrannus Scythe. And then the item level reward will go up. So in the preseason, the reward for completing a heroic dungeon will be Explorer level gear. And in season 1, it will be Adventurer level gear. At the beginning of season 1, we will also get Mythic 0 dungeons available for the first time in the War Within. So the Mythic 0 dungeons are going to they're going to drop veteran level gear, and they're going to reward champion gear in the vault. So for season 1, you'll have heroic, which will drop adventurer and reward veteran. And then you'll have Mythic 0, which will drop veteran and reward champion in the vault. And then starting on September 17th, we'll get Mythic Plus. And Mythic Plus, starting with +2, will drop champion and reward champion. And then I think going up to number 3 will give you hero in the vault. I'd have to look to be sure. There's a whole spreadsheet. But regardless, the point is you're going to be able to get and farm gear early in the season pretty easily because this is all just dungeons and raids. They said nothing about how the delves are going to work. And we do know that delves 1, 2, and 3, or tiers 1, 2, and 3, are all just going to be available in the preseason. Once season 1 launches on September 10th, we'll get delve rank 4 and above. And I don't know exactly what those are going to drop, and that Blizzard hasn't confirmed it. So even if we know on the beta what they're going to drop, they might still change it like they did with Mythic 0. There's going to be a lot of ways to earn gear in the War Within. Good gear. And you're going to have some really fun ways of kind of managing your gear acquisition. whether you want to do Mythic Plus and some delves, or whether you're just going to focus on heroic dungeons, or whether you're just going to run a couple Mythic Zeros. I can't do Mythic Zeros right now in Dragonflight because since they're weekly, people are so protective of them. If you go in there and you wipe on the first boss one time, people leave because they're like, I'm not locking myself into this group that might not be able to complete this dungeon. And I get it. I do get it. But at the same time, come on, people, be patient. But so having it go to daily for the Mythic Zeros, I think is going to be really good. So yeah, this blog post, I did put it in the show notes last week, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit more because this whole idea of not starting Mythic Plus until the second week. So if you think about it, and I know if you don't do high level rating, this whole segment is going to make, or this whole portion is going to make no sense to you, or it's going to be boring. And that's, I get it. But I did want to talk about this because it's something that's really interesting to me. So Mythic Plus is going to be, or has traditionally been, a gearing system for Mythic Raid. It won't be the case this time around, though, because people are going to run Heroic Raid and Heroic Dungeons and Mythic Zero Dungeons in the first week of the season. And then Mythic Raid is going to release. Now, when Mythic Raid releases, these teams are going to have a question. Do we run Mythic Plus and try and get gear really quick? Or do we focus on learning the raid on Mythic? Do we focus on hitting the Mythic bosses as hard as we can and making as much progression as we can? Do we wait and let other people go first and then learn from their strategies? Because previously you could run Mythic Plus, and even if it was capped, you were able to get good gear because some of these people are running 60, 70, 80, 100 dungeons in a week because they're just trying to get gear. They're trying to get gear. They're trying to get crests, whatever you need to do. The crests are going to be capped, so that's not really an issue, but they're trying to get gear, and you won't be able to do that in that first week because Mythic Zeros are going to be capped at 1 per day. So 1 per day times 7 days. Let's do the math. There's 8 dungeons, 7, 8, 56. Yeah, you get 56 total runs, which means if you're trying to farm one specific piece of gear from one specific dungeon, you get 7 attempts at it, and that's it. And people are not going to like that. Because at least with Mythic Plus, capped at a plus 10 keystone, you could just keep running a 9 or a 10 ad nauseum until you got the piece of loot you wanted. Now you can't do that. You get 7 chances, and that's it. So it's kind of interesting. And I will be curious to see if this is something that Blizzard does again in the future with a new expansion, or because this is the only time we get this. The only time we will ever have this situation is when we get a new expansion, because everything is locked after we level up until that season starts. So this is the only time this is ever going to happen. And this is the first time that we've ever had it with upgradable gear like this, where we have this new upgrade system where we can go, hey, I'm going to spend flight stones, or whatever the new stones are going to be called, harbinger stones, and crests, and upgrade my gear. We couldn't do that before. This is the first time we're ever going to see any of this stuff. So this is all unprecedented. So I'm really curious to see how it all plays out. And I'm really curious to see what these Race to World First guilds do. Are they going to run the Mythic Plus now that they can farm this gear, or are they just going to go straight into raid? So it'll be really curious to see in September. It's next month. Wow. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. I will be doing a lot of Race to World First coverage because to me that's very exciting. So if that's not your thing, I get it. It's okay. And I will note if it's a Race to World First episode when we get to that point, so you don't have to listen if you don't want to. All right. Let's just really quickly, I know I said last week I wasn't going to do a This Week in World of Warcraft segment. We are just going to hit those real quick so that you know what to expect. The weekly events are the Dragonflight Dungeon event. So that's to 4 Mythic or Mythic Plus dungeons and get 2 Antique Bronze Bullion as a reward. So that's 2 extra Bullion, not 2 of your whatever the cap is for the week. So it's adding on to your total, which, I mean, you know, just for the transmog alone, I think it's great, but also you can get some good pieces still for going into the new expansion. It's really not going to help you at this point too much because honestly, it doesn't really matter what your gear is at this point. But yeah, definitely go into the expansion. You're going to want some. So I would definitely pick up some trinkets. Maybe if you're a tank class and you want some good DPS trinkets for leveling, now's the time to do it. You want a good DPS weapon, or maybe you want to tank some dungeons and you're a DPS player. Maybe you want to heal and you want to get a good healing weapon. Maybe you want some healing trinkets. Whatever. This is the time to go get all that stuff. So definitely run your 4 dungeons and get you. And you can do it with Mythic 0. And you'll get your 2 bullion. The PvP brawl is Deep 6. I don't need to explain it. If you want to do the brawl, go do it. But it's Deep 6 this week. The Trial of Style started today. I haven't logged on to the servers to do it yet, but the Trial of Style started today. Now, the Trial of Style is really fun. And it's one of those things that it means nothing. You get some transmog out of it. You're not getting any gear, like upgrade, power progression, anything like that. It's just for fun. And if you haven't done it, you join a queue, you get into a group of 6 people, and they give you a theme for what your transmog should be. And then you have like 90 seconds to come up with your best transmog that fits the theme. And once you do that, you go on display and they compare you to the different other players in this group. And whoever gets the most vote wins. That's it. And then you get currency that you can use to purchase additional transmog. That's pretty much it. It's just fun. It's just fun, especially if you go into a group with like your guildies or some friends. It's definitely fun doing that because then you can see what people's transmog sensibilities are. Some people have no clue how to do a transmog. They're just like, I don't know, I'm going to put on my set pieces from tier 4. I have no idea how to do this. Yeah. So Trial of Style, definitely fun. The other thing, and this is really important, the Darkmoon Fair is in town starting this Sunday, and it's going to last the whole week. And this is the last Darkmoon Fair, for sure, of Dragonflight. Because starting next time, it's going to be the War Within professions that you will get in the Darkmoon Fair. So if you are close to getting your professions maxed in terms of knowledge points or skill points, even for that matter, definitely do the Darkmoon Fair. This is your last one. It doesn't take long. Go over there, do the 2 quests. You can check on Wowhead. Some of the professions like leatherworking and tailoring require you to bring something with you to the fair that you can't buy while you're there. It's just some vanilla type reagents that you can pick up in Goldshire or in I forget the name of the city in outside Thunderbluff. Anyway, if you're Horde, you know where to go. But yeah, this is your last chance. Also, if you're leveling up an alt through the pre-patch event or because of the lowered XP, you can ride the merry-go-round or the roller coaster and get a 10% XP and reputation buff. I don't know how the reputation buff works now with warbands. I'll be curious to see how that works. So, all right, that's it for the news this week. Let's move on to our main story of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
All right, so we're going to talk about this Radiant Echoes event. And I'll tell you, I've been watching for the past couple of days this whole thing be just a roller coaster of emotions. Yeah, this is how not to release an event. But to Blizzard's credit, they have acknowledged that maybe they didn't release it in the best way and they're updating it, or they have updated it. Let's talk about what Blizzard released first, and then let's talk about the changes that they made. Okay, the Radiant Echoes event is the pre-patch event for the War Within. It will take place from July 30th, which was 2 days ago, to August 26th, the day of launch. You'll be able to do this event up to the day of launch. Even after the early access has started, you'll still be able to complete this event through launch day. I guess it'll end at 3 p.m. when everything switches over to the War Within. So that's pretty cool. This is available to all players level 10 to 70. So if you are a level 10 player and you're like, hey, I want to go check this out, go do it. You might die, but you can go do it. Now, one thing I will say is there is a quest, and you have to have completed the quest on your warband in order to, let me rephrase that. You have to have completed the pre-quest, which was the Harbinger quest line that you got a few weeks ago. or a few months ago. I think it was when patch 10.2.7 launched, which is basically the quest to go to Dalaran, talk to Khadgar, go help Illyria, figure out who the Harbinger is. Turns out, oh, it's Alatath, surprise. You have to do that quest line on at least one character in order to do the quest. And the quest just gives you some bonus currency. And the currency itself, you can buy... Well, we'll get into what you can get from the currency. Okay, so the zones. There are 3 zones: Dustwallow Marsh, Searing Gorge, and Dragonflight. So you go to Dalaran. There will be 3 portals in the center area of Dalaran, and it'll have a timer on there to show you when the next zone is or what's active, and so you know where to go. And so, yeah, those are the 3 zones. If you can't figure it out, Dustwallow Marsh is going to be where you fight Onyxia. Searing Gorge is going to be where you fight Ragnaros, and Dragonflight is going to be where you fight the Lich King. Okay. The rewards. So you can get item level 480, which is veteran 1 of 8 gear. You can upgrade this. I haven't checked it out yet, but I do believe that this is not catalyzable, so you can't turn it into tier. But it's a really cool transmog set. It's like the Legion set from Argus. I forget when it was in Legion that this was a set that was available, but it's a pretty cool looking set, and it's purple, so it's really fun. So definitely you're going to want to collect all of that transmog on your different characters. The event timing. Now, this is what they released originally. Originally, they said July 30th to August 5th, the zone will change every 90 minutes. August 6th through the 12th, the zone will change every 60 minutes. On August 13th through the 26th, the zone will change every 30 minutes. People didn't like this. They did not like this one bit. Okay, so there's some limited time rewards that you can get from this event. So there's a feat of strength, which is this takes me back, which is to kill each of the remembered bosses, the Lich King, Onyxia, and Ragnaros, or the remembered Fire Lord. There are 3 battle pets that you can purchase with the currency. You can get the remembered Construct, the remembered Riverpaw, and the remembered Spawn. Okay, that's cool. There are 2 mounts that you can get, the Golden Griffin and the Wind Rider. And again, these are all the remembered. So it's this, Azeroth looking blue and yellow glow thingy deal. There are bags that you can get. There's a 32 slot bag and a 30 slot reagent bag. Honestly, if you need bags, they're not hard to get. You could buy them on the auction house. They're like a couple $100 gold each. Or you can hit up a tailor. I'm sure they'd be happy to make them for you. And finally, there's a new heirloom ring, which will fit into your other ring slot. So it's called the Band of Radiant Echoes, and it's a haste mastery ring. So if you hate making a new character and not having that second ring slot available to you, well, now you'll be able to get it. So, and all your friends who didn't play during the pre-patch will be jealous of you. All right, that's the basics. That's the high level. Let's talk about how this event actually works. So what they have changed to this, or what it is now, let's not talk about what it was, because honestly, it's just going to be bitter and angry, and people are just going to be pissed. Here, I'll read this directly to you from Blizzard's post. Players who have reached level 70 will receive an introductory quest and then be directed to visit Dalaran to start. Players under level 70 will be immediately directed to Dalaran. Okay. The event occurs in 2 stages and cycles between 3 zones, changing zones every hour. Portals in Dalaran will be available. I don't know why I said available. Portals in Dalaran will be available to take you directly to the event staging area, and a return portal is available in each of the event zones, so that players can quickly return to Dalaran and head into the next occurrence of the event in the next hour. When the event is active in a zone, the portal will have an additional golden glow to indicate it is active, so that you know where to go. Okay, so during the first stage of this is running around and killing memories. And while you're killing memories during this stage, you're going to gain currency. Defeat the Radiant Echoes, causing havoc in the zone. Random events that activate within the zone can be seen on the map, so there's going to be a little marker on your world map. Event locations throughout the stage are marked by a multicolored globe. Once enough memories have been defeated, a zone boss will spawn. You'll be able to so this is stage 2 now. You'll be able to undertake a quest in each zone during the event. Will ask you to defeat one of the event bosses as follows: Only Darkness, remembered Lich King slain in Dragonflight. Broken Masquerade, remembered Onyxia slain in Dustwallow Marsh. Champion of the Water Lords, remembered Fire Lord slain in Searing Gorge. Please note that once the boss is defeated by players, stage 4 will begin, and the boss will no longer be available to kill for the quest completion until the event begins in the zone again. Bosses can also rarely drop additional pieces of gear. Once the boss is defeated by players, the event will return to stage 1, spawning new memories to fight. So basically, if you want to grind currency, you could just go back and grind the currency. But killing the boss, that's like the main part of this event. Now, I did log on just a little bit ago, and I tried this on my level 47 Warlock on which is on the Cenarian Circle server. And because I was just curious, I'm like, well, what is it going to do on a low-level character? And I killed the Lich King memory, and I got a 493 piece of champion gear for level 70. So I guess I've got to level her up now. That's what happens. Yeah, so this is the whole thing. This is the whole event. It's not as exciting as the Dragonflight event, honestly. Or the Shadowlands event. Shadowlands event was cool because it was like, oh, we got to go over here, this boss spawn, or we got to go over here, this boss spawn, I got to run around. People on their flying mounts, everyone going everywhere, it's chaos. The Legion event is still my favorite. That one was so cool. I didn't do the Battle for Azeroth one. I don't think I was playing then. No, I wasn't playing then. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so the event is kind of lackluster. But the rewards are cool. So you can get different rewards. So let's talk about the costs. Okay. The bags that I mentioned previously are 2,000 memories each. Now, like I said, I did this on a level 47 character, and I got 4,000 memories. So you do get a good chunk of memories, but part of that was completing the quest. The mounts, the Remembered Golden Griffin and the Remembered Wind Rider, are 20,000 memories each. The pets are 10,000 memories each, and there's you can get some armor pieces. You can get the specific armor pieces that you want, and they are between 2,000 and 3,500 memories each. 2,000 and 5,000 memories each. And then the weapons are going to be 4,000 for the one-handed weapons, and 5,000 for a wand, 8,000 for a polearm. You get the idea. You can go look at the vendor and see how much everything costs. But the point is, you're going to need a lot of memories, or you grind out the bosses and get your drops. I didn't really see a really good way to just grind trash. It felt kind of, I don't know. Maybe there just wasn't a lot of people doing it. I'm not sure. But the long and the short of it is, this event it's mediocre at best. And that's a bummer, because I feel like Dragonflight was such a great expansion, and we're kind of going out on a fizzle. I don't know. I feel like what Blizzard should do is they should take these events and they should make them, instead of doing them on the main servers where everybody logs on to go do, if you just want to get people transmog, make a Plunderstorm style server that let's do the pre-patch event. Log on to the pre-patch realm. You click on it, you create a character, you go over there, you get your transmog, you run around, you do the stuff, you do the things. I think that would be pretty cool. They already have the technology, obviously. Now, maybe we'll get something like that for Midnight, or as I've long speculated, we'll get something like that for the WoW 20th anniversary event that's coming up in November. But regardless, the transmogs are cool, the drops are cool, but nothing in it is super compelling. If you look at the transmog and you're like, and you look at the mounts and you're like, don't bother. It's really not worth it. This content is not compelling enough for you to say, no, I really want to do this. This is important because this is the War Within, and it's not that good. It's really not. So don't reactivate your sub after the welcome back weekend just because you're like, oh, I gotta try it out. And if you're like, hey, this is worth me doing for the next 3-4 weeks, okay, do it. But I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Now, I think they could have made 10 bosses, which would have been cool. Make 10 different bosses. Oh, you got to go fight Cho'Gall. You got to go fight Nefarian. You got to go fight the jailer. I don't know. Oh, that would be fun. I could imagine the tears on Reddit for that one. Yeah. The jailer, I have to fight the jailer again, merp. But anyway, so this event is, like I said, it's a little lackluster, and that's okay. Things are kind of mellow right now. Like I said previously, everything's really calm. And it is the calm before the storm, but we're going to get a nice 4-week period where we have pretty much nothing. Cataclysm Phase 2 is out. Done. Cataclysm is done for at least 6 weeks. If not longer. Probably 8 weeks. Season of Discovery just got Phase 4. It's done for at least 8 to 10 weeks. Maybe longer. And then we've got Dragonflight, which is moving into the War Within. So really, there's nothing going on for the next month. August is going to be a slow month until we get to the end when the War Within launches. So, as I've always said, don't log on to WoW and be mad that there's nothing to do. Either go find something to do or go find somewhere else to go. You know, for me, I don't like to play a bunch of whatever's the new hot game. That's not me. I'll play City Skylines. I'll go back and replay Half-Life 2, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I might even play some old Nintendo, play some Legend of Zelda or something. Just, relax. Or like I said before, you could go touch grass. You could go for a hike. You could go mow your lawn. You could, whatever you want to do. Don't get mad just because the pre-patch event is a little boring. Okay? It's all right. Take a deep breath. You're going to be fine. Now, that being said, when we get to the War Within, when it launches in August, know that it's going to be a month before you get any real content. Because from the early access, which is August 22nd, until Mythic Plus launches, which is September 17th, is nearly a month. So we're going to have a long time to level up, work on our professions. We're going to get some rep. We're going to do some story content. We're going to get our Earthen allied races unlocked, hopefully. Maybe level up some alts. Maybe do some Mythic Zero during the first week of Season 1. Maybe do some normal dungeons. Run the 4 dungeons that during that preseason period when you can do Heroic. Run the 4 dungeons that we won't see in Season 1. Just to see what you're missing. Just get in there and just know what was going to happen in Season 2. Yeah, Cinderbrew Meadery is really fun. I really like that one. So, just saying. This pre-patch event, I feel like this is about a week's worth of content, and they're gonna spread it out. So, I get it. Don't be angry. Just relax. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. We're going to make it through this. And when we're halfway through the War Within, we're all going to forget how lame this pre-patch event was. Because honestly, people talk about the Shadowlands pre-patch event almost with a grin of nostalgia. It was terrible. It was awful. Trying to run around and get these rares, and they died so fast, and you were just like scrambling. You're like, which way do I go? Do I go north? Do I go south? Because there's one to the north and there's one to the south, and I don't know which one to get. There's one boss in each zone. One boss per hour, basically. And that's it. That's the whole event. So, yeah. If you want to go grind some currency, go grind some currency. If you want to, you could run a dungeon. After you kill the boss, go run a dungeon. Go do LFR or something. Chill for a little bit. It's okay. Relax. But I will say, if you are one of these people who have FOMO and fear of missing out, and you're like, I need all of these things in order to feel complete, then yeah, do it. Go grind out everything you can. Go grind out all the memories, get all the currency. It's worth it. I feel like sometimes WoW players neglect their mental health because they have this fear that they're going to not have something 6 years down the road. Somebody's going to be like, haha, check out this cool thing I got in the War Within pre-patch. And you're like, no, shoot, I should have gotten that and I didn't get enough currency. if it's important to you, go do it. If you're like, then in 6 years you won't care then either. Maybe you'll be like, oh man, I wish I had gotten that. But oh well, it's pretty cool that you have it. That's it. That's all there is to it. So, yeah. All right. That's enough. That's enough of that. That's going to do it for our show today. There's just not a lot of news, not a lot of content going on right now, and so and that's okay because I'd rather wrap the show up than just keep picking things up that nobody wants to hear me talk about. So I could talk about the new Xalatath affix. Who cares? I could talk about the all the changes that they made on beta. Who cares? I'm going to get into all that stuff down the road because honestly, I do want to talk about it. But right now, we are still so far away. We are weeks away. And honestly, Blizzard is going to make changes up until the last minute. And maybe even up until the start of season 1, we'll see changes that are going to go in. We're going to get hot fixes. Remember, this is unprecedented time. We can upgrade gear going into the expansion. We're going to get gear that's upgradable. We're going to be able to... Blizzard has shown that they're willing to make changes to classes and specs on the fly. And so when we get these interactions with hero talents, we're going to go, oh, okay, well, maybe we should do this then. And they're going to change it on the fly. We'll get a hotfix the next day. And that's okay. That's okay. We're good for that. So, there's a lot of content that's coming up and a lot of things that we're going to talk about, but it doesn't make sense for us to talk about now when it still has so much time to change and so much time for it to be reworked completely, which they're still doing. They are still doing that. So don't look back at what happened in the beginning of Shadowlands and think, oh man, we're screwed. No, this is the new Blizzard. Things are so agile. Things are going to change. And remember, the World of Warcraft gamers, guilds, whatever, I forget the name of the union that they just formed. It's a union now. And so, they're gonna work for it. And I'm sure that Blizzard is going to want to coordinate with them. And so we're going to get some good content, I think. We're going to get some good content by happy people who are willing to and happy to develop things for this game because they love the game. Most of the people who work on World of Warcraft also play World of Warcraft. They enjoy the game. That's why they work at Blizzard for less money, because it's something exciting to them. They want to be able to work on it and say, I worked on that game. To them, that's worth the missing salary that hopefully the union will be able to get for their employees. So, all right. That's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to get on this microphone and talk to you. I did struggle a little bit with some of the format changes to the show, and it's going to take some time. It'll probably be a few weeks before I nail down exactly how we're going to do the different segments and just figuring out how everything is going to work. I don't want to sit here and do a news show because honestly, if you want a full news show about World of Warcraft, go listen to The Starting Zone. It's probably the best World of Warcraft podcast out there. It's certainly the biggest. So if you want a straight news show where they go through all of the news for the week, go listen to The Starting Zone. I cannot duplicate or copy their format. It doesn't make sense. And the longer that I've done it this way, the more I'm like, why am I doing this? They already do this, but better. So I'm trying to create my own formula, and I want to be able to do it in a way that is my own, that I can have ownership of and feel good about. So that's why I've kind of made some changes and some adjustments. If you don't like the changes, if you don't like the adjustments, if you're like, hey, I'd rather you just talk about the news, or hey, I don't want you to, I want you to spend a lot of time talking about the PvP brawl for the week or the Mythic Plus affixes. Okay, tell me that, and I'll go through the feedback. But honestly, all the feedback I've gotten so far has been pretty positive and pretty focused on some of the discussions and opinions that I have rather than just the news items themselves. So I'm going to kind of focus on that and stick to that. I do want to get into more interviews and start talking to some WoW players and some people who are involved in World of Warcraft, and not just in terms of playing the game, but people who make content, because I do find that to be fascinating. I want to give a shout out to Dave Gagne from the Solo Queue. World of Warcraft podcast. He mentioned me a couple times on his podcast, his July podcast, and I couldn't have been more humbled and more honored to get that shout out from him. So I really appreciate it, and I definitely would love to have some sort of collaboration with you in the future. So Dave, if you're watching this or if you're listening, and you'd like to get together and maybe have some collaboration, I'm here for it. I'd love to do it. So, all right, let's talk. All right. Thank you again for listening. I really appreciate it. Remember to be good to each other out there. It's okay. There's one boss per hour in the residual echo. You're going to be fine. Don't worry. Just nod and smile and say, thanks, Blizzard. Thank you for our pre-patch event. Maybe we have another. But yes, be good to each other, and it doesn't take a whole lot to smile and to just be nice. So, all right. Thank you. I love you all. Be good to each other. I'll see you in Azeroth.